Welcome to the Weight Loss Podcast, where we offer solutions to the obstacles you face when it comes to achieving your health and fitness goals. As a married couple who's lost a combined weight of 100 kilograms and 11 clothes sizes, our raw, real, and relatable stories will show you the path you must walk to achieve and, more importantly, maintain the results you know you can reach. Because we know it works. So get ready to share the success and show the results with your hosts, Matt and Courtney.
All right, I am here with, not arguably, inarguably, one of the best people, best human beings we have ever worked with, Melissa from North Carolina, US of A. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Super awesome. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on. This has been a long time in the making.
Yes, I think we started talking about this in January.
We did, and I would actually go back further. This is a longer time in the making because of what it has taken for you to get to this stage.
Oh, yes. 2 whole years. Yeah. And
Yes.
yeah, before that, just a straight train wreck. So pretty excited to be here and having you interview me because it means I've come, such a long way.
It sure does, and we are all about train wrecks. We're here for the train wreck because also the most of us tend to start as train wrecks.
Yeah.
So where you are now, I'll give just a brief overview. Is you're a busy mum. You've just turned 40. You don't look it.
Thank you.
You're in the best shape of your life, except people that look at you now that don't know you would think, oh well, this must be just how it's always been.
No. That's so funny. No. I mean, you read my application, so
We
where I
know, we know the truth, but just like people will assume. They'll look at you now and don't know the context of where you've come from, which is also why this is such a valuable thing to do. So I'm going to throw it over to you, Melissa. Like, where did you start with this? You mentioned train wreck. Tell us about the train wreck.
Well, I mean, honestly, the train wreck started like way, way, way back. I mean, and kind of slowly developed over time. But I mean, I started having weight issues and struggles with my weight all the way back in middle school. So, that time in the US, anyways, I don't know what it was like in Australia, but it was very like, thin as in, Kate Moss. I don't know if you remember her. Kate
I'm
Moss.
old. I remember.
Okay. Like that whole heroin chic thing and everything. So there was a lot of pressure to be thin. And then, just someone at school made a comment that, I was getting chubby. And, so I started thinking to myself, well, boy, I really need to lose weight here. And, at the time, no one really was educating me or I don't know, anyone around me about how to lose weight in a healthy way. So I just kind of figured out hey, if I eat less, then I'll lose some weight. So started doing that. And that gradually kind of turned into an eating disorder. So,
And how old were you then?
so I was in high school, it was late middle school and early high school when I was going through a lot of that. So,
Is that like early teens in America?
Yep. So 13, 14,
Yep.
15. Yeah. Yep. So I got really, really thin then and was just totally obsessed with, my weight, the scale, and checking how I looked all the time. And yeah, it was really terrible. And I never really got any official help for it or anything like that. But I started playing volleyball in high school and I realized, well, I mean, I'm going to have to eat something here if I want to, do sports. So I did start eating more again. But I mean, nothing really changed exactly because I was still pretty, obsessive about what I ate. And then I just realized that, oh, hey, exercise can also help you control your weight. Right. So kind of moved on through there and kind of kept struggling my way through high school, got to college. And then around that time is when I met my husband and So during that time I got really into, like my studies and he was very much like, oh, you need to eat, like you need to be healthy, like all this stuff. So for a little while I actually stopped caring that much about my weight, but I did start in with like a lot of like college binge drinking and great stuff like that. So I was kind of like eating, drinking, and not really taking care of myself. And then at some point I'm like, wow, like my clothes are like really tight, you know, like so I was like, maybe I should weigh myself. And I hadn't really been weighing myself. And so when I weighed myself, I was like, oh my God, like it was just like the worst thing ever because like I was like 168, which was like just for me like a nightmare, right? Like because
Mhm.
like when I like was going through like my eating disorder years, I was like 115 or like 110, which I
Yep.
wouldn't want to be again. But I don't weigh myself now ever, but unless I really have to. But um so I freaked, of course, totally freaked out. And but I didn't want to like go back to like, super unhealthy ways, or like my eating disorder ways. So I found out about calorie counting, which is so fun. And that was back in the day when you didn't really have like apps for that or anything. So I made like an Excel spreadsheet so I could track my calories and over a 5-day average
Yep.
so that I could go and binge drink, have like 10 drinks, like, go on party, and then try to like make up for it by restricting and exercising in the following days. Right. It's like,
Aha.
because basically, like, as far as I was concerned at that time, like, even as long as I stayed under my calorie goal, that's all that mattered. It didn't matter what it was that I was eating.
So
Right.
you worked the math so that you were within your target, which would also allow you to hit the bottle.
Yes.
Aha. How'd that work out?
Oh, so at first I was like, oh, this is so great because like I did lose weight this time, and I was getting all these compliments. And they were like, "You look great." And I'm like, "Yeah, this is
Hmm.
great." Except the problem is that eventually I stopped counting calories because it only works if you keep doing it
Mm.
forever, which wasn't going to do. So then, whoops, gained all the way back, right? So I kind of then went through many, many cycles of this same kind of thing, like all through my 20s. It was just like, and I would find different programs that I wanted to do. Like, okay, I'm gonna do like beach body. I don't know if you remember that one. That was a fun one. And
Mhm.
and Atkins and keto. I'm gonna try this juice cleanse, all this stuff, so just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, up and down, up and down, up and down, like all through my 20s. So all right, yeah. So I hit my 30s. Yep, time to have some kids, I guess. We decided. So
Yep.
so um I got pregnant with my first son, and everything was like really smooth through the pregnancy, and I gained like the amount of weight you were supposed to and all that stuff. It was actually after that when shit hit the fan because my son was really colicky and he wasn't nursing well, so I was like pumping, and like I had postpartum depression, and I didn't know how to deal with like all this like new parenting stuff. So I actually gained a ton of weight after I had my first child because I was just like, so stressed, and I was just like turning to like food, alcohol to like, I don't know, just in my mind make myself feel better even though it didn't at all. So I got to like my highest weight to date at that time. And so then I was like, all right, I got to do something. I got on medicine for some postpartum depression. And I went to like a mommy boot camp type thing. And so that worked again for a little while, but it didn't have any like nutrition education or any. It was just, it was just workout. Like it wasn't about like, your changing your habits or eating healthier or anything. It was just workout. So I basically just lost weight from working out a lot. Right.
Like group training sessions, that sort
Yeah,
of thing.
yeah. Like the kind where you like go in like the parking lot, and you like do the kettlebells and like, like the burpees. It's like, all that kind of like stuff.
Yep.
So did that. And then I was like, all right, yeah, have another child. So got pregnant again. This one, unfortunately, is when I had a miscarriage. It was like an early miscarriage, but still it was, pretty traumatic for me still.
Yes.
So then I was depressed and dealing with all this stuff. So I gained even more weight and I hadn't even gotten pregnant again yet. Then I got pregnant, my third pregnancy. And luckily I was able to carry that one to term. But I kind of had like a lot of the same problems afterwards. Oh, also too, I should probably mention that he was born in April of 2020. So it was a really exciting time to have a baby. Uh,
Not going out much then.
no, I had
Mm.
this whole plan about how it was going to be so much better this time because, I have my village now and all this stuff, and we're going to do it differently this time. And then, yeah, no, COVID. So
Mm-hmm.
super fun. So, anyways, I kind of like went through kind of the same struggles all over again. And then I was like, all right, time to lose this weight again. I'm going to go back to the mommy boot camp. Right. And the problem was that this time it did not work for me this time. I think it was maybe just like the stress of like having two kids. My first had been diagnosed with autism by this point, and I was exhausted. And these boot camp classes, they're like at 7:30 in the evening. And I was tired. So I'd be like, I can't go this time. I'm too tired. I need to get my sleep. And which, I mean, I did. I was really tired.
Mm.
But, I couldn't get up enough energy to like get to these classes and do all this stuff. And I was still just like too depressed. So this point, I've been trying to lose weight. Oh, so I tried to lose weight like for about a year after my son turned 1. And it just wasn't, I was going insane. Like I was trying to count calories and I couldn't stick to counting calories for more than like 3 days at a time. And then I would like just start binging, like and just like eat all the foods and eat like cupcakes and like, go just absolutely insane. And then I would be like, all right, I'm gonna buckle back down. Like, or even better, I'm gonna start on Monday
Of course,
again.
as we do.
So I had like, all these Mondays, all these weeks, and it was just exhausting. I mean, I was just exhausting myself with just like the constant mental battle of
Could I ask a question about that?
weight. Yeah.
How? Because by this time, you're up to what, 15, 16 years of doing this?
Yeah.
How is that making you feel about yourself, confidence, self-esteem? What was that doing for you mentally going through this over years?
Oh man. I mean, yeah, it was just in the toilet at this point. I felt like I was a failure. Honestly, I really just like hated myself. I just loathed myself because I couldn't understand like why can't you just do this? Like, why can't you just do this simple thing? Like, what's
Mm.
wrong with you? Right? Like, get it together. Like, come on, like you can just do it. Just follow a little calorie counting program. It'll be fine. But I couldn't make it work anymore.
Were those
Not even a
feelings
little.
coming out? Sorry, were those feelings coming out in terms of like, around your husband or around friends or things like that? Or was it just more internal?
Oh, I definitely think so. Just because, being when you're just like depressed, I mean, even if you're not like trying to take it out on people, I think you do just tend to have like, a shorter fuse. And, because I was just like so tired and downtrodden and depressed, like I feel like, I just didn't have as much energy to be able to do things with my kids like I have now. And, I was like drinking. I was all into the mommy wine culture thing,
What is
you
that?
know. So basically, I would sum it up as like parenting is really hard. Here's some wine to make you feel better, right?
Aha, medication.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, right. So basically, it's like, oh, like, you'll just hear moms all the time, like, like, oh, I had such a terrible day. I need a drink, I need my wine, right? And that's just supposed to make you feel better, right? Instead of actual real self-care, like getting a break or getting sleep or going get your nails done or going out with friends or getting a massage. That would be like actual real self-care. Instead, nope,
Mm.
just have this glass of wine and it'll be fine. So I was totally into that too. And so, I was like kind of like just feeling kind of like hungover, even just like, on a regular basis, just because, every night I'm having like a couple glasses of wine, maybe, going out to socialize, having some more on top of that, some play dates, have some drink mimosas on Saturday morning at the mommy meetup. Like
Mm.
it's like yeah. And I didn't realize at the time like how crappy it was making me feel because everyone was just telling me this is what you need. This is right here. Like you need a mimosa. You're having a hard day. Like you need this glass of wine. Right. So I had no idea, how it was affecting me until later once I started with you guys. So here's where I found out about you guys because I was just basically like, at this point, I was like kind of doing the same thing actually a little bit where I'm like, I need to find you know what I really need to do? I really need to find something that'll motivate me to so I was looking around and I like just stumbled on your podcast and I was just like, oh, these guys are hilarious. I love how like they really like keep it real and shit, this is awesome. So so and honestly, like, the stuff you guys were saying, I had not, really heard anyone say that before. Like, just some of the things like about what it really takes. Right. I just had never really heard like, just like everything I had heard, like 12 weeks or the 21-day fast or, whatever kind of
Yep.
stuff. And you guys are like, oh yeah, it'll be like at least a year. Just like, what are they talking about? But I'd never heard it before. So I was interested, right? So I joined the group and all that. And Courtney reached out to me and I talked to her some. And then I was just like, all right, like I'm gonna go all in. This is the last thing I'm gonna try. And if this doesn't work, I'm just gonna give up and be a fat fuck for the rest of my life. That's what I was thinking. Like if this doesn't work, that's just it.
Did you have any sort of moment that led you to that sort of conclusion where it's like, that's it, I'm going all in? Because often people will come to us and we'll always ask them like, you know, what's triggered this decision today? So for some people it might be they see a photo that horrifies them,
Mm.
or they go to put on an old pair of jeans and that old pair of jeans ain't fit like it used to, or they'll go on an aircraft and I don't fit in the seats.
I can't really pinpoint one exact like instant. It sort of just feels like an accumulation of just like, so just so many failures, so much stuff. And yeah, like I definitely the family pictures, like whenever my husband would take pictures of me with the kids and I would look at them, I'd be like, oh God, like that's just oh, that's just terrible, and it honestly just sucked the enjoyment out of me even seeing pictures
Mm.
of family pictures because I would just be like looking at myself and just be like, oh man, like what happened, It's really bad. Yeah, I didn't have like an exact like single moment that I can pinpoint. I mean,
Yep.
just something switched over in my head where I was just like, I'm gonna do this and it's the last thing I'm gonna try, I swear to God.
Out of interest, what do you feel now looking back in retrospect? What do you feel made you ready at the time? Because often from what we see, a lot of people that go through that sort of history similar to what you've gone through, it could be hard to get through to them in
Mm,
terms of like, hey, you've literally spent the bulk of your life going around in fucking circles.
hmm.
And you have to, I know for me, I'll speak for myself, but I feel that you have to come to a conclusion on your own. Like, you know what? This shit ain't working. Something's got to change. Did you have anything
Yeah.
like that?
I mean, I definitely, I think I was just sick of just like, I'm like, like you said, just like, I'm just like beating my head against the wall. And I was just like, this is not working. Like, I mean, I can think about that time in 2007 when it worked for a few months, but like, this is, I have to try something different or I'm going to go insane, basically.
What was the longest you'd stuck with something before starting this with us?
Oh man. Oh, I think I did Weight Watchers for like 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably the longest.
And here's the thing: because Courtney and I understand that things like for example, a 12-month commitment, when the longest you've stuck with something is 3 months, that is quite a leap. How did you cross that bridge? When we say to you, like, hey, we want you for 12 months at least, and the longest you've done something is 3, how does that enter your head as like, wait, they want me to do this for what? For how long?
I think I just felt like I had nothing to lose, really.
Mm.
Like, because I had tried it all, like almost literally tried it all. And I just felt like, okay, like I can either continue on like this, completely give up, or I can try something else. That was kind of where I was at. And I was just like, I'm going to try something else. And this will be the last thing I ever try.
This almost sounds like right place, right time, right moment.
Yeah, I think so. It was just yeah, it was just complete just kind of luck, I guess, that I just happened to like stumble onto you guys like right when I was feeling like super hopeless.
Hopeless.
Yes.
That was the overall feeling.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I was just like I just was like I did definitely came to the realization that it was not going to work anymore. Like if I'm like trying the same thing for like a year straight or variations of the same thing and it's not working, it's not going to there's nothing I'm like there's nothing I can do to make this work. I have to try something different because it's just not happening.
Mm-hmm. Hopeless is how a lot of us feel when we get to a fairly low point.
Mhm.
Sometimes we can tell ourselves, you know what, I'm just meant to be this way, or I'm not one of those people that can change.
Right. So that's what I was choosing between. I was like, either I am like, this is just that, or I will be able to like do this other thing. So, it was sort of like a last ditch effort, really.
Well, it's also a credit to you to go through all that for as long as you did, and to then be at the stage where you say to yourself, you know what, fuck it, I'm going all in on this.
Hmm.
Because
Yeah.
that, as you know, because you've now done this for long enough, where you've been around enough people to see how rare it is for someone to go all in when you go from I've been doing this for 20 years and now I'm doing this and I'm going all the way down the rabbit hole.
Yeah. I don't know. It is interesting, just something clicked over in my brain, I guess.
That, that's a good. I reckon that's a good way of putting it, and that's usually what, at least what I've gone through personally, is your brain almost flicks a switch,
Yeah.
and it's like for me, I call it like a fuck it moment. Like fuck it, no more of
Yeah.
this shit.
Yeah. Exactly. No, totally just tired of my own bullshit at that point.
That is a perfect phrase to use that I was thinking of as well. It's like fuck it, no more of my shit.
Yeah. No. Yeah. It's just completely crazy. So.
So what did you when you started with us? In your perspective, what were you doing that was different to the last, well, the prior 20 years?
Oh, so when I first started with you guys, it was so funny because like I was like, all right, like so Matt, like give me all the things, tell me all the things I got to do. So I got to start going like doing the gym and I got to do this and I do this, right? And you're like, yeah, we just want you to like work on these 3 things. And I was just like, well, what do you mean? Like don't I need a supplement or
Huh.
something to go with it? Like, so it was a little bit of a shocker when, I first started, and it was actually just so much, like, for lack of a better word, less than I was used to doing when I was doing a weight loss effort, right?
Yeah.
Because when I was like doing a diet thing, it was like I was going and doing all the things, right? For like 3 days and then having a meltdown. So so that was interesting, but I reminded myself, I was just like, all right, I'm just going to do what they tell me to do because I said that I would, and I'm just going to see what happens, basically. Like, because I'm like, I tried my way and it didn't work. So I'm just going to go ahead and try it and do what they say and see how that goes. That's really like honestly how I didn't, I wouldn't say I didn't I didn't know whether it would work or not, I guess. Like, I wasn't sure, but I was
Mm.
just like, what do I have to lose? I said I would do this, so I'm going to just do what they tell me to do.
So where did you start? When you started with us, from your perspective, what were you doing? It was different or unusual from what you've done previously.
So you guys are basically just like, all right, just start cooking some food, like, for yourself. Like, just start making your own food. And I was
Mm.
like, okay. And I was like, what? Like, are you gonna give me like a meal plan? And and you were like, yep, here's some recipes and just pick what looks good and just make that. And I was like, all right.
Mm.
Seems simple enough, right? So, I just did that, right? And then you gave me some exercise, like, program to follow. It was only like, I think like, I don't know, was it like 3 days a week? Even two? Okay. Yep. So I did that.
In your home gym, we should mention.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Love my home gym.
This whole
Yeah.
journey has been your home gym.
Yeah. Yeah. I've
Mm.
never gone to a gym.
Don't need to. A good home
Yeah.
gym does the work.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it was just like, yeah, reporting back to you guys about what I did, like every week. And that was it. And so that was pretty shocking to me. I was like, okay.
Less
Not
than
very
what
hard.
less than what you would expect going in, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So, basically just kept going with that until, and, I kind of had mastered, the basics, as y'all call them.
Mm.
And um, from there, that's once I kind of had done that, then that's where we kind of just started like building on, building on things from there. So some of the things, like, well, honestly, a lot of the things I think I just like asked you or suggested that I would do on my own. Like it wasn't very long. Like when I was in the program, I think it started in June, and I think so. I started thinking about like cutting down on my drinking pretty quick, right? Because I'm like, well, this isn't helping me. I was starting to see that, right?
How often were you
So
drinking when you started with us?
every day,
Okay,
every day.
how much?
At least like 2 to 3 glasses of wine a day on
Mhm.
top of whatever other crap like I was doing. Like, so if I went somewhere, I would drink on top of that or whatever. So, yeah, I think that was one of the first things is like I started to be like, well, I'm doing this shit. I'm waking up at like fucking 5 in the morning and shit. Like, well, like, and then I'm trying to like down this alcohol in the evening. Like, I'm like, why am I doing all this shit just to like, pour a bunch of like, alcohol on top of it? I started thinking about that. And so
Mm.
then I started gradually cutting down so that, I was only socially drinking, I think, by like September-ish. And then, yeah. And so then the real challenge was like, like telling other people that I wasn't going to drink anymore.
Aha.
So I wasn't drinking at home for actually couple months before I announced well, actually, I didn't even tell, that's true. Before I started secretly not drinking when I went when I went out, because I had such an issue with like at that time with like what people would think of me and what I do, right? Like even though no one gives a shit, actually. Like
It's
I
all how we
didn't
feel about ourselves. Yeah.
I didn't know that though, but like, I had like a main character, syndrome problem or something where I thought people actually cared whether I drink or not. They don't actually, but I didn't learn that until later. So yeah, but I remember the first time I went somewhere where everyone was drinking and I did not drink. And I swear it was like, okay, so I think was talking with you about it. And you were like, just try to go to like one event and don't drink and just see how you feel about that.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, just one. I can do just one. Right. So I did do just one. And I was like so proud of myself. It's absurd. Like I was like, oh, wow, I did that. It was so amazing to me. And actually, I felt I had more fun without drinking, actually.
Mm.
I was like, oh, like, I was actually like, engaged in, like the conversations and, I just was like, wow, like, I just like, I'm not just out like zoning out, like, drinking alcohol the whole evening. Like I'm actually like paying attention and enjoying my time out. And then the other super awesome bonus was that I wasn't all like hungover and shit the next day. I got up feeling like fucking like roses, it was awesome. So, I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do that again." But then I still hadn't told anyone what I was doing with the drinking because I was afraid of their judgment. So I
Question.
basically
A question
go
for
ahead.
you.
Yeah.
With the social drinking, was there actual pressure from friends or colleagues to drink, or was that more internal?
No, I made it all up.
Oh.
In my mind, really. I mean, I thought it was going to be this big deal
Mhm.
because I think it's because, like, being a drinker and drinking that like had been part of my identity for like a really long time. Like, I hold my liquor and I'm good at this and blah, 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 So I think like I thought it was like some kind of issue, but it actually really wasn't. So I went on like, so I think I quit in October, didn't tell anyone actually officially until like December. But
And
then
what
when
was
I
the
did,
response?
they were like, oh, that's great for you. Like, like everyone was like very supportive about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was so funny. So all along I was like, oh, hiding my secret shame of not drinking. And really, like everyone was super supportive. Like no one was negative about it whatsoever. They're like, oh yeah, I completely understand, and that's great for you. So
And what were you expecting though prior to that when you told people?
I guess I was afraid, like, oh, people, like, oh, well, I'll probably like, oh, people are gonna think I have this like drinking problem, which maybe I did. So, I mean,
Mm.
that's fine. But, or like maybe they won't invite me places anymore because they're gonna think I'm not fun. I'm not fun drinking Melissa anymore. Um, so, just all kinds of like, yeah, completely like unfounded fears that no and so but finding that out, the process of going through that and finding that out was super valuable to
Mm.
me because then I realized just from that I learned just so many things like that first of all like people probably aren't thinking about you as much as you think and they also don't care as much what you're doing as you think. I mean, as long as they have their beer and wine, like they're happy really. So they
That
don't
phrase, main character syndrome, is perfect.
yeah, like I
Absolutely
thought
perfect.
care, but they don't. So, and then to just the fact that I was able to push through something like that was difficult for me, as absurd as it was difficult for me, and able to kind of like push through, do that, get on the other side, and find out, oh, it's not actually all as bad as I cracked it up to be. Like that was a really big learning lesson because then I could do that with other things.
I'd also say it's not as absurd as you think, because you think back to then, like you've never gone through that before.
Right. Yeah.
And even though it can be easy for people like myself or Courtney to say, cool, it's not the big deal you think it is, but we also know you have to go through it yourself to experience it, because then it
You
hits different.
Yeah, you really do. You really have to do it. Go walk through it. Like you said, because other people can tell you, like, they're not going to care. But like, until you really see it for yourself, then yeah, I agree with that.
And that's why you had to start with just one. Just start with one, try it on
Right.
for size, see how it feels, and also find out that it's like, you know what? I'm in the pool and I'm not sinking here. This is okay.
Mm-hmm. But even after that, so even after December, I still had a couple of times every now and then, well, I think then the following, like April, I was hanging around some new people I didn't know. And just like it was like weird. It was like it just like hit me, like I was just like, oh, I gotta, like, everyone was drinking wine. It was like a mommy wine night. I hadn't told these people like I don't drink. I was just
Mm.
coming to socialize. And I hadn't yet practiced enough saying the phrase. Like now I say it all the time. It doesn't bother me at all. I don't drink. That's it. That's all. Like that's easy to say now. But then I don't think I'd ever like uttered that word still, or that phrase still at that point. It was always stuff like, oh, I'm good. No, thank you. I don't need any like stuff like that. So even still, like, that April, like, they're like, oh, here's your glass of wine. And I just took it, and I just felt like, I don't know, it was like froze or something, and I drank it. And then afterwards I was like, why did I do that? So even still, like, even after that, I was still struggling with all of that for a while. It took a long time to really like settle into being like really confident with my choices around people I didn't know.
Yeah. What other sort of habits do you notice were gradually improving over that time as well?
Oh wow. Yeah, a lot. So
Big
so
question.
yeah. Yeah, so many. Um like around, yeah, all around that same time, like kind of a lot of things are happening at the same time. So I also I had mentioned briefly, but I've always struggled with binge eating, emotional eating, like all kinds of stuff. Just like, I'll have a bad day, like, time to chuck back, like, some cupcakes and cookies, like give it to me, whatever. And so
Was it always bad days that would trigger that, or any other sort of events or circumstances?
usually negative stuff. Yeah.
Mhm.
Or just extreme like restriction. If I tried to restrict my food for a while,
Aha.
I would just like freak out and like eat everything. And also too, like the whole like, I'm going to start my diet on Monday, so I
Mhm.
should have this because this is the last chance I'll ever have to have. Because I'm not gonna 3 days from now have another binge.
How
So,
long would you say you're a binge eater for?
oh gosh, like I think it started when I started counting calories.
Funny how
I
that
mean,
works.
I know. So surprising. So,
Mhm.
yeah. So then because you guys put us like on eating food regularly space. So it doesn't have to be five, but I've always been like very comfortable with 5 meals a day.
Yep.
And like I wasn't like starving to death or anything like that. And there was a big array of food I could eat. And I still, by the way, can eat whatever the fuck I want to eat.
Mm.
I can eat, if I want cake, I'll fucking have it. But
Yeah.
I don't want it right now. But but I think I can. I know that I can. I think that's important to remember. But anyways, so because I wasn't restricting, I think that started helping me like get control of like the binging situation, because I wasn't being triggered by, oh, like the extreme hunger or anything like that. Um, and because like I had also like cut down and during cutting down and stopping my drinking at this time, I was starting to look at other like stress relieving type um activities to help me learn to try to like deal with my emotions. And another thing is just learning to just like honestly like accept my negative emotions. Like
Mm.
have to try to stuff my, negative emotions down with a cupcake. I just feel bad. I just feel bad for a little while, like, but it's going to pass. Right. But, going on, the exercise was really, helpful as far as, my stress and anxiety and all that stuff. So
You're
I
an
think,
anxious person?
oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So I was on the anxiety medicine when I started.
Aha.
Um, and I never liked being on it. I was always off and on it because I never liked the side effects of it. It made me super tired. I would just like fucking like want to nap at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Mm.
And I mean, I don't have time for that shit, but I would be looking for a nap, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So I think between just like all the exercise, the good nutrition, the cutting down the drinking because the drinking would give me anxiety the next day, and also the drinking as well would cause carb cravings and like little binges, especially at breakfast next morning. So, by, doing all that kind of together, really, like all of it, I kind of just stopped binging on, I mean, gradually, like, stopped to where it's just like, I would just, a lot of times too, what I would tell myself early on, I haven't really had to do this very often recently, but it just came back to me. It's just like, I say, I can eat whatever, however much and I want, and as often as I want, as long as it's like something that's like, on my plan for the week. Like, so one of the recipes that I fixed on my meal prep day, I can eat however much I want whenever I want, as long as it's like one of those things. And so that kind of helped me too, because, I wasn't at those early stages then having to like really deal with like being hungry, like hardly ever, but I was still losing weight.
Ah, so with the binge eating, it was more what an organic thing that sort of improved over time rather than righto starting on Monday, no more binge eating.
Right. Yeah. No, I didn't say like I'm like, I didn't really ever work on that. It just kind of went away like on its own, just from everything else I was doing.
As a byproduct of building good habits.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It pretty much went away on its own. And I was also able to come off of my anxiety medicine. And I haven't had it since October of 2022. And
And
I've
how
been
long were you on it for prior to that?
probably a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And then but before that, because like I was on it between my pregnancies and before that, I was on it in my 20s and stuff. So like I said, I'd been like off and on
Yep.
like my whole adult life.
What differences did you notice coming off it?
Definitely just like a lot more energy. And I also feel like it makes your personality, like, or at least for me, like it makes my personality like a little bit less flat. Like I get like more like enjoyment out of things, because I just kind of feel like anxiety medicine for me, it just makes me feel just kind of like medium. Like I'm
Like
not like,
it flattens you out?
yeah, like it's just like I'm not that excited about, anything, right? It's just like kind of just like, yep, I'm here live my life, whatever. Right?
Almost sounds like going through the motions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And also, it just always like made me really tired. So now I just have like
Mm.
a lot more energy and, I just feel like I just like really, enjoy things more. And I definitely prefer, you know, diet and exercise and all that to taking anxiety medicine, at least just for me.
100%. So in your describe in your own words, what were the basics you focused on when you first start? Because we're going to build on this in a second. But where do you start from your perspective?
So it was just it's just the exercise, following the exercise program, and then making, doing your meal planning and prep, and making your meals and eating on your plan as much as possible. And you can put treat meals in there. I used to have 2 a week.
Mm.
And then like the accountability. So just every week there's like a check-in sheet, and you can fill that out and unload all your shit that you feel and then get feedback from you guys about it. It's great.
Unload all your shit. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Did any of that catch you by surprise in terms of like, wow, I didn't expect to be doing this?
I definitely think it's like a thing where it's like I didn't expect to be doing so well. I didn't expect to be like not hungry, right? I feel like weight loss is like suffering in
Mm.
my mind, right? Like at the time, I was like, yes, like, so it was more like the absence of things I think that surprised me. So it's like, I wasn't starving. I wasn't like, running miles and doing hours of exercise or anything like that. It all seemed just very like moderate to me. Like honestly, I just like,
And it was.
yeah, just like so it was really more that I think than like anything that I was surprised that you had me do.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
And how has that evolved over time? Because this these things you're talking about, if we're talking about coming off the anxiety meds, reducing drinking at home, then tackling the social aspect of that,
Right.
taking yourself away or organically moving away from being a binge eater, and all of this is easier said than done. Like it's none of this is like, hey, you starting Monday, you're not doing this stuff anymore. It doesn't work that
Right.
way. How have these things evolved over time? Because as I mentioned before, like all these things have improved. This hasn't been 12 weeks, has it?
No, 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 no. I'm at 2 years now, just about. I'm finishing up my 2 years in 2 weeks.
Which is funny because most people would think, oh, that's too long.
Oh, well, the thing is though, it doesn't seem long though. It doesn't. Like
Mm.
because like it kind of just accumulates, like it just becomes part of your life. And so you're just living your life doing these things. And so it's not really yeah, I think the key was that I didn't really like obsess about like the weight loss aspect as much. I started really just looking at like because like by focusing on like things like quitting drinking and just focusing on those types of habits, it just makes the time go by, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, I look a lot better now. Basically. But once they mastered the basic stuff, I then just started looking at building like other habits on top of it. So,
Yep.
after the first year, it's like we started making sure that I have a certain amount of protein in every single one of my meals, for example, or, I should have looked at what all my little goals were because I do have what my goals were for every single program. But
Hmm.
essentially, just like, at every single 12-week program, I had 2 or 3 things that I would work on every single time. And then just gradually over time, that just like build up into a whole big thing.
So 2 or 3 things every 12 weeks, not 50 things.
Nope. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Exactly.
So
But
how
then now it's all just like accumulated to like be really significant, right? But
mm,
instead of just like failing out, doing it all and then failing out after 3 days, yes, it took 2 years, but I mean, so fucking what? I mean, I don't know.
here's a question. From your perspective now, how do you know or how do you feel confident that you've, sort of got a handle on the basics? When do you feel like, yeah, I've got this on lock now?
When did I master the basics?
When did you feel that you had that?
Oh, definitely after the first year,
Yep.
for sure.
What is it that makes you feel that you've done, like, how do you know from your perspective?
When you can just like do it without it being hard anymore. Like it's
Hmm.
just like you're just doing it. Like, I've heard you say this too, and I feel like the same. It's just like I just like, well, actually, what's really funny is like every now and then I'll have like some weird, like kind of thought, but it's like sort of like faint, like I'm gonna wake up this morning and I'm gonna have waffles or something, like I think, but it's just like that's hilarious. And then I'll just make like my scrambled eggs and fruit. Because it's just like that's just what I'm used to doing now. So it's almost like it's automatic. Like I would have to try to be like, no, like I'm not going to be awesome anymore. I'm going to go back to being a fucking train wreck to think at this point. So
Yeah, I think that's, you'll find that's the power of working on habits, which is boring as fuck, because everyone wants the shiny meal plan or the fancy latest exercise plan. No one wants to be told, "Hey, bro, your habits fucking suck."
right. Yeah. But that's the way to actually change is to do the boring shit and just keep
Yeah.
doing.
And that I completely agree. That's when you know you've sort of mastered the basics, is when you do them so well you don't know how to not do them.
Yeah. It's just like automatic. Yeah. It's just what I do.
And that's also how we know that any individual is ready to have things refined or improved. And there's no one size fits all there. Like, some people will take longer than others. Who fucking cares? Like, your journey is your journey.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the feedback that we've got from you the entire time, is like, cool. You know, the questions that you ask improve. The answers that you give to our questions improve. The way you apply yourself improves. And then it's like, okay, based on the feedback we're getting, we can probably start to crank things up a little bit here.
Yeah.
So you probably, no doubt you've noticed, because you live it, that the things you're doing now are very different in some ways to when you first started.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, I could not, the things that are in my program now, I could not do as a beginner. No way.
What sort of
Yeah.
things would you find?
Well, so just like with my current program that I'm on, I have just like certain like foods that I choose to eat, right? And there's other foods that I don't choose to eat, and there's no way that I could handle that at the very beginning. I like really needed to be able to kind of like work through a lot of my issues before I moved on to doing kind of more sort of like advanced like manipulation of my diet.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So,
Mm.
um, but then, once you are able to work up to that, then, you see just really good results. And I've learned a lot from it too. So, yeah, I think like, you just become ready for new challenges once you've mastered those basics. Like, it's just your brain seriously changes so that you're able to actually like handle those things.
How has your exercise changed over the last couple of years?
So starting out, I think it was just like I did two, really, I only did two weight training
Mm-hmm.
per week. Okay. All right, man. Okay. So for two. And then I think I did some cardio, right? And some walking at the beginning,
And
right?
the intense sessions as well. Yep. And just
Yeah.
the less intense walking. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was like, yeah, then now that, so then, I kind of went through doing that and I worked up to three. I think I definitely worked up to three
Yes.
strength training sessions
Confirmed.
at one point, and the high intensity cardio and the walking. And then I went to four,
Mm.
but don't have to do didn't have to do the I added them back recently, but okay, like didn't have to do the intense cardio sessions, just do walking, but I have a step count, right?
Mm-hmm.
That I do just walking 10,000 steps a day, you know. Then now I've just added the intense cardio back in for
Now
fun.
that's an interesting little factoid, that you went how long without doing an intense cardio session?
Was I even doing them in December? I don't even know if I was.
Put it
I
this
don't
way,
I definitely haven't done any since January,
yeah,
for sure.
the session you did was last Friday, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you did the Vomitron last Friday. By the way, you're welcome. But that was
It
that.
finally doesn't hurt anymore.
Yeah, it's finally worn off half a week later. But that was your first intense cardio session in calendar year 2024.
Yes. Yes, definitely. It
And
was.
this is from our perspective, this is called living the dream.
Mhm.
When you can get in better and better shape, as we've been documenting all through this year, as your physique has improved, and you haven't had to do cardio to do it.
No. Oh, it was great.
That's also how you've evolved too, because when you first start and we're a bit heavier, etc. 99% of us need those intense cardio sessions just to build the habit of exercise, learn how to train with intensity, but also give metabolic stimulus for internal change. But then eventually, if you stick with it long enough and you improve long enough, you get to the stage where people like us can say to people like you, this cardio shit, piss it off for a while. You don't need it.
Yeah, it was nice.
And literally for you, your training program, basically for the last 6 or so months, has been you lift weights
Hmm.
and you walk.
Yes.
And that's it.
Mhm. That is it. Hmm.
Now, how would you describe the way you have changed internally and then externally over 2 years? Who are you now versus who you were then? Because you mentioned the word train wreck or the words train wreck.
Mhm.
What would you say to describe yourself now?
I mean, I definitely, I definitely, feel like I do have my shit together now. I know that's like crazy, but I actually have my shit together now. I mean, obviously, obviously, I did, I changed physically. I was like, when I started, I was like a size 10. Now I'm like a size 6. And I feel, good in my clothes. Like actually I'm like starting to like have some of my my previous skinny clothes. Some of them are like actually too big for me now. So
What a
I'm
problem.
surpassing all that. So that's awesome. But I mean, just as far as, honestly, I think more than just looking good, which is great. I mean, I like that. Everybody likes to look good,
We
but
all want to look our best.
yeah, right. But, really, I think, the effect that it's had on my life overall has been, the more valuable thing to me, just because, I've overcome just so many of my like just things that are holding me back, but just in my mind only. Right. So, I have like so much more confidence now. I've had to overcome just like a lot of like my fear of judgment and my people pleasing tendencies, like, well, I guess, like, I guess I have to eat that cake because she expects me to, like, kind of thing. Like, so I learned to like set boundaries with people, be like, no, thank you. I'm not going to do that, be more, assertive. So, and I have less anxiety, more energy, more able to, just go and do stuff with my kids. Um, and I was trying to think, man, because like I feel like there's just like so much. Like it's basically like I'm like a whole different person, pretty much.
You mentioned confidence, which is a big thing that takes a hit with year after year of, I mean, I'll use the phrase here, failed attempts, failed diets, failed programs.
Yeah.
That is for a lot of us that can be crippling
Yeah, for sure.
because
Well, yeah.
lack of confidence can be obviously be very toxic and can affect every area of your life.
Right. Yeah. I definitely feel like having more like I've now like, I'm not as afraid to like just go get what I want to get, right? Like,
Mm.
go do what I want to do. Like I do feel like I have the confidence to now to just basically just like attack things, and be like, yeah, that's what I want and I'm gonna go do it. Where before I'd be just like, I don't know, I can do it.
I think the improved confidence, or earned confidence, is I think the difference between being a spectator in your own life and being actively in charge.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I mean by like, that I have my shit together. It's just like, I'm like feel like I'm actually in control of my own life, not just like going from one, crisis to the next kind of thing.
Yep. And also worth mentioning, speaking of confidence, you've done now 2 photo shoots off your
Yeah.
own back. We never asked you to do them. You literally said, fuck it, let's go.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, Andrea, has done them. And I was like, wow,
Mhm.
like, that would be like something really awesome to do. So yeah, I did one after the first year. Yeah.
Yep.
And that was really fun experience. And, I'd never done anything like that before.
Mm.
So that was another thing where it's like, I went and did something that I normally wouldn't do or didn't think I could do and did it. Yeah. And then she asked me back like later to just like model some stuff. And so I just got those photos for free. So that was nice.
Yep. And now you've also have a love for horse riding.
Yes.
That
Yes.
was a big win.
Yes, yes. So I did go back to horseback riding because, yeah, as I mentioned when I started with you guys, like, the confidence thing played into the horseback riding thing because, you wear like tight clothes and a lot of other equestrians are very fit looking women,
Mm.
right? So it just makes you like feel bad when you're like, you're like the sloppy fatty, like walking in there and it just doesn't feel good, right? So but I did just recently, a few months ago, go back to horseback riding, and not only do I just feel just more confident and like more able to kind of like meet people and like befriend people there and everything. It's also just helped my riding, obviously, because I kind of like got right back on and was like ready to go because just my overall fitness is greatly improved. So, like fitness is not really an issue as far as getting back into it. So that has been awesome as well.
What differences has your husband noticed or family and friends noticed or made comments or observations the last couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, my husband's pretty happy on it, I'd say. But yeah, like friends and family have noticed for sure that, um, I'm definitely looking more fit.
Do you get asked questions?
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes. But I do notice that a lot of times when I do tell people what it actually takes, like their eyes like kind of like glaze over a little bit. They're like, God, this sounds like a lot of work.
How do you explain it to them when they ask what you've done? What do you say that makes them glaze over?
Oh, they'll be I'll just be like, well, it's like really it's just eating. It's like eating like, how like whole foods and exercise and changing your habits and not drinking and all of a sudden they're just like, oh Jesus. Like
Where's the Ozempic?
yeah. Like, oh geez, that sounds like a lot.
Yeah, the boring truth of what's involved with this is entirely boring
Yeah.
and entirely unglamorous, which is also, I think, why you have to have really concrete reasons to do it. Because you think about it, and you've learned this yourself, like the exercise, cooking food, things like accountability and whatnot, like they're tools.
Hmm.
You have to have some pretty powerful reasons or pretty powerful outcomes you want to achieve to be like, you know what? I will subject myself to getting up at, in your case, like fucking 5 a.m. starts and hitting the gym early and like it's not always fun.
Yeah, no, it's not fun, but it's worth it though. So
Oh, yeah, you have to have the outcomes in mind. Question for
yeah.
you: What have been the biggest challenges you've had since starting this along the way for you?
I think definitely, something that was really holding me back, in life just in general, but also with this was just that like, like fear of judgment from other people, like fear of setting boundaries with people, and that has been awesome to overcome that because now I really do have the opinion like, like I don't like whatever people think of me, like I don't even fucking care, right? Like
Mm.
what other people think of me is none of my business or whatever, however they say that. So
That's a big bridge to cross.
yes, it really is. So and then also too, I think just like learning to deal like with my stress and anxiety and like all my emotions in like healthier ways, like learning actual real like self-care, that was challenging, with giving up, my crutches of alcohol and food and actually learning how to like deal with life, that was very difficult
Can
to do.
you can you give a contrast to what your self care was then versus what your self care is now?
It was literally like drinking and eating is
Mhm.
like pretty much like it was pretty much it. Like, now, it's like like I'm, exercising, eating healthy, drinking water, going to bed early, make sure, I have time to like, go on walks, time away from the kids, like going out to dinner with friends, getting my nails done, horseback riding, playing pickleball.
Mm.
Um, yeah, just so basically just making sure that I have, some time to myself to do things that, I want to do that make me feel relaxed, or sometimes just doing jack shit nothing. There's not that much opportunity for me to do that. But the other day I just did a little bit of jack shit nothing, and that was perfect. That was great. I just laid in my bed. Loved it.
That's
So
living
fun.
the dream. Did you
Yeah.
did you find it did you find it challenging to almost give yourself permission to find those outlets? Is there mum guilt? Do you have mum guilt along the way?
Anymore, I don't, because like I realized that I need to take care of myself as well,
Mm.
right? And to be a good mom. And I'm still spending vast majority of my time, wiping asses and making food for the kids, taking them places and doing shit, so like I'm still doing plenty. I'm pulling my weight around here just the same. Even if I take a little time to play pickleball or whatever, I'm still doing a lot of shit. So I don't feel bad anymore. No.
Do you find it makes you more effective as a mum?
Definitely. Cause I mean, depressed mom, like having a mental breakdown is not, good for the kids, right?
Mm.
But like healthy, strong mommy, well, cause they would say, Mommy, you're so strong. They would tell me that.
Oh, that's a
Yeah.
great comment to get.
Yeah, and I'll like be like doing like squats or something, and like when my one of my kids would be like, "Good job, mommy. You're so strong." A lot
Leading
of
from
times,
the front.
they're standing around, and I'm working, especially in the summer. Like they're standing around and working out, listening to music or doing whatever it is that they're doing, and they'll just like be like, good job, mommy."
You have to love that.
It is. It's hilarious. And then, my 7-year-old, he likes working out some. Like
Ooh.
I got him like a curl bar actually. So I got like a toy for him that was like a plastic toy, and he did not want anything to do with that. He made me get him like a curl, like those little like smaller curl bars.
Mhm.
So that while I'm doing all the stuff with the barbell, like he'll be doing it with like the little curl bar. It's hilarious.
That is amazing, but also further proof of like, leading by example
Yeah.
and the influence that the parents have on their kids.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. But yeah, I think that's better than, oh, mommy's like drinking again and depressed. So
So you would say that the boys have noticed?
yeah, I definitely well, I think so. I mean,
Mm.
like, they're young, they're like 4 and 7. So I mean, I don't really think that they'd be able to like say, particularly anything, but I think that they notice. They notice more than we think, I'm sure.
Well, especially if the 7-year-old's now doing curls.
Yeah.
He's showing that he's noticed through his actions.
Yeah. He'll deadlift with that thing too. Like he's got
Hey, that is a great foundation to start at such a young age.
it.
So what other challenges have you found along the way with this?
Hmm.
What's been
Uh,
hard for you?
what's been hard? Yeah. So I already said dealing with my emotions and the setting the boundaries and the fear of the judgment. Those are like the really like the big ones, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
A little I mean, just fine, at first, probably just like finding the time and like figuring out my schedule. And even still, sometimes, like, I was just going over with you the other day, like, oh, like everything's all different because it's summer and the kids are out of school. And, even like for like a couple weeks, like, I just felt like a little like chaotic and stuff. And I wasn't
Mhm.
quite like, going through it like as smoothly as I normally do. So it's just making sure that you like plan out your shit. That's like you really got to. Like I would be fucked if I did not like every Friday plan out my shit. I look at my appointments, I look at like, what am I going to eat? When am I going to eat it? Like, when am I going to work out? Like it's all planned for the whole week on Friday every Friday. Like that's it. Like so
Some people would hear that and say, "Oh, that sounds too hard." What would it be like if you didn't do that planning on the Friday?
It's fucking hard if you don't do any planning and then you just live your life like it's like a hot mess for an entire week and just want to like, cry. Like, no, like, that's way harder, way harder. Like, same thing if you like don't do your meal prep or something, like, what the fuck will you eat? Like, so you have to sort that out like every single day. Sounds like hell.
It
So,
sounds like with that, especially with being a parent and being like on the go as you are as a parent, you'd be in survival mode day in, day out.
yeah. So planning ahead. So like that's another thing too is just like my meals. I cook dinner fresh every day, but my other meals I have them portioned out in a fucking container that I can just grab out, put it in my cooler bag, get in the fucking car. Like that's it. Like I don't have time to like screw around with like, I'm not gonna like, oh, I'm gonna cook this like and then take no, like I don't have time for that. So yeah, planning and yeah, is like a big fucking deal. So, once I had like my method down though, like now I don't even think about it. Like it's just like, is it Friday? Well, then I need to fucking do this.
And
Like,
that is a critical word you've used, or words, my method. You've got to figure out, and this takes trial and error, what's going to work for you and your lifestyle in a given moment.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then like you just have to watch and make sure that you're able to adjust just based on, things that change. Uh
Mm.
and get like kind of like so I just had to, it started being summer and the kids are out of school. I just had to sit and think for a minute, like, okay, like I just like look at this. I got to write it down in my notes, like, this is what I'm gonna do. Right. I just had to find my pockets of time. Right.
Yeah.
That's just find it and then just do that.
Yeah. There's, as much as we'd like it to be, there's no set and forget with this. You've got to
So
have that ability to roll with just the fucking chaos of life.
yeah. Yeah,
And,
for
and
sure.
that's before we throw having kids into the mix, where it's just like it's just rolling the dice every single day.
Yeah, for sure.
Is today going to be a clean day, or is today going to be poo and vomit?
There's always gonna be poo. You can just but everybody shits every day. It never fails.
I got a question for you. We talk about the challenges of dealing with your stress and finding alternative outlets.
Mhm.
Give us some feedback. If you recall, it was a couple of programs ago. We had an idea to have you to deliberately put on your schedule like stress relief, stress outlet
I
time.
love that. It's still on there. Yeah.
How much did that give you?
Oh, that was great because that really helped with that. Because like I was like finding that, you know, without it's like the same thing. It's like where you're not unless you consciously put it in the plan, then it's not gonna happen, right? So I was
Mm.
like, I need to put time for me in my plan, right? So yeah, you guys put that in there for me, and then like I actually so then when it's in my like list of tasks for the week, that's when I think to myself, okay, like what's my me time this week? Where am I putting it? The fuck am I doing? Like, so it really helped. Yeah, that really did help me actually make time for myself, which
Good
is great.
feedback. We've just had a gut feeling with you that it's like, you know what, let's make this part of her program and
Yeah.
hold her feet to the fire on this, and
Yeah.
then treat it like a measurable, like, how you
Yeah.
record your weights in a training session, or, did I do my meal prep this week or these 3 days or whatever. And that's part of the
Yeah.
program. And that was
Right.
a KPI for you.
Yeah. And it worked really well.
Well, we are going to keep doing that with people that we work with, because so many people like us, it's like, it sounds like a great, cool idea. Like, hey, find time for yourself versus this is now part of your plan.
Yeah, definitely.
And we're going to check in with you on this every fucking week.
Yeah, it's really good. Great idea. This
Here's a
is why you
question.
get the weeks.
Question for you. What have been the most satisfying wins you've racked up? Because if we ask you to list every win you've had, then we might be here till next week. But what have been, which is a good thing, but what have been the most satisfying for you personally?
Most satisfying wins. I mean, definitely, when I was able to get back into horseback riding,
Yeah.
that's huge. I'm actually planning to buy a horse this fall and just
Ooh.
and just like having the confidence to like even just like go do that and say like I want, like it's like it seems like I want to do that. This is what I'm gonna do, right? Like, that has been awesome. Um, and then, just uh quitting drinking, huge for me. Like I didn't even really know how much of a problem it was, but like, just being able to do that, overcome all that, and be able to live the way that I'm living now, like, and feel confident about it, that's another huge one. And yeah, and then just like, I guess just like, getting like liking what I see in the mirror.
Yeah.
It's pretty nice. I mean, it's not the most important thing, but it's pretty nice.
What you find, you've probably noticed this yourself, is that liking what you see in the mirror and the physical changes you've had are a byproduct of
Oh
all
yeah.
the other things you've been working on. It's like we know any human being, if they're being honest, wants to look their best.
Mhm.
But it's a lot like things like the scales. If you don't focus on them and focus on what contributes to them, you'll fix them as a byproduct.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And that's like that's definitely one of the biggest things for me is just not even thinking about like I need to lose. If I start thinking to myself like I need to lose weight, like that's just bad. That just like goes down the wrong like brain path, right? Like
Yep.
that's a malfunction.
Hmm.
I don't want to do that. Like because then I'll start thinking like, all this weird stuff or whatever. But if I just think like, well, I just need to, I just need to have my meals, I need to get my workout done, I need to like get my stress relieving activity in, and I just do that every day. Well, then, you turn around and you're like, oh, well, good.
And this is why we always say this is about more than just weight loss. The
Yeah, for
things
sure.
things like the weight and even to some degree what we see in the mirror, yes, they are important and yes, they do count, but that's surface level stuff.
Hmm.
Like what was holding you back was not your weight,
No, no. Yeah, definitely not. It's definitely, yeah, definitely like it's the habits for sure.
which
And just
is
like the whole way my brain worked.
and
And
it's not glamorous, is it? But it's necessary.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
So
No.
here's a
You have
question,
to do it if you really want. So like if you really want this to last, like you have to get through that shit.
which is perfecto, because I was just going to ask, what you're doing now, is it sustainable?
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I'd be doing this forever. And that's like okay. Like it's not like I'm trying to like calorie count forever or something like that. No, no. Yeah, no, I'm gonna be doing this like for the whole rest of my life, and I'm totally fine with that.
What does that do from a mental load standpoint? Because you mentioned before in terms of, calorie counting and back in the days before there was an app, having a spreadsheet and then crunching the numbers manually, which sounds like fucking torture.
Mhm.
What's it like now knowing that, okay, what I'm doing now I can sustain from a mental standpoint in terms of freeing up a mental load?
Yeah, for sure. Because like I usually just think about it every day and try to plot my next scheme of what I was going to do, and like, oh, research. I'm gonna find the thing this time, and like blah blah blah. But like it really has like freed up. Like I feel like I really don't think about like any of this shit that much. Like, really. I mean, like, it's outside of my meal planning. Even when like my planning is like really the time when I'm really like thinking about it. Like when I'm doing like or my accountability, or I'll think of stuff randomly and I'll just put it in my notes so that I can put it in the accountability like thing later.
Yeah.
And like other than that, like when I'm like meal prepping, I'm like listening to like my audiobook or something. When I'm, in the gym, I'm listening to music. So I don't really spend that much time thinking about it. So it has like freed up a lot of time to just like think about literally anything else. Like,
Yeah. Live your life.
yeah, exactly. Like just do other things. Don't have to worry about that. Don't have to feel horrible about any of that. Just like I've got other stuff, anything
Uh-huh.
like
How long are your planning sessions on Friday?
pretty quick now. I think it used to take me a lot longer. Also, too, depends on how many times you have someone like interrupt you, like, I need a snack or whatever. It depends. But I'd say about an hour and a half in general.
And how long was it at the start?
Maybe like more like 3 hours. But again, like, a lot of times I was in the start, like looking at different recipes and what I to eat and figuring what I like. Like I just eat the same shit all the time now because I want to. Like, I mean, like I rotate through the same, like I have like a binder of like my favorites printed out. And I just like flip through and then I just like, oh, that, like this is my meal prep number 1. This is on meal prep number 2. And just like, I have this appointment, that appointment, this appointment, that appointment. I'm going to work out here. Like, here's my stress relieving activity and done. Right.
The benefits of sticking with something long term is that as you're going through, you develop the skill to refine. And I'm going to use the phrase cut smart corners.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, there's a whole thing too about how you put your meal prep together, like, because you don't want to use something that has like the same like cooking method. Like if you have 3 things that use the same cooking method, then you can't cook things at the same time. So I just try to do like the oven, like the slow cooker and like the stove or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, then the meal prep's really short too.
Which is
I can
funny.
do that like an hour and a half now too, roughly.
How long did it used to take?
Oh, when I first started, I really did drag it out somehow. I don't know. Like I did drag it out into like maybe like a half day type affair where it was like 3 or 4 hours or something, like,
Yep.
like I think because I just was figuring out like, all right, like, also too, like, I don't make a lot of the complicated shit anymore. Like I honestly don't. Like I'll just be like, I'm gonna see. I love my like seasonings and shit now. So like I'll just be like, I'm just gonna take like these chicken thighs, like cover them with seasoning and put them in the oven, right? Like
Yep.
that doesn't take any time, it's like 5 minutes and then it's in the oven, right? So, I simplify what I like eat by choice. Like that's just, you don't have to, that's just what I would like to do. And so, and then just too, it's just like figuring out like what goes together. So a lot of times like I'll eat the same configuration of my meals like in the week, but then I have like another configuration that I do the next week so that I'm eating something different the next week, and then I'll go back to the other one.
Well, ultimately, you've just found ways that work for you,
Yeah.
that you can sustain.
You see my food diary. I mean, it's pretty just boring, but I like it that way.
That might depend on who you're asking. Like to me, it's not boring at all. Like there's lots of color. There's different variety in terms of how you present the meals to yourself.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, and I think as well, like you're beyond the stage where you need to be entertained. Like, I must have something different for every meal. Like, do you really?
No, I don't. Yeah.
I know I don't.
Yeah, I know. And I had no like, and this too, like I've discovered like the foods that I like and that I can eat a lot. So, and not get tired of them. I'm telling you too, like you told me this, obviously I got this tip from you, but like the spice thing is really great. Cause like, that's how I started having, I literally scrambled eggs and fruit every day, but it's because I can put different seasonings in the eggs every time. I even put different shit on like my fruit, like I'll sprinkle some cinnamon on it, or I have like some like coconut like mix thing or like whatever, like and I'll do that to my yogurt too. Like I'll put cocoa powder and I'll use chocolate protein powder. I'll use vanilla protein powder. I'll put the coconut and the cinnamon and like stuff on that, right? And it all makes it taste different. You switch out your fruit, different fruits, make it taste different. I mean,
yeah, there's definitely some pretty smart ways to present food differently to yourself without sinking in a buttload of time in terms of preparing it.
Yeah. And like, well, when we went to the beach, I didn't have any of my spices with me. And I was just like, God, this fucking sucks. Like, but I ate it anyways. Like my scrambled eggs tasted like ass. I was like, God, like I knew that I liked the spices, but it was like, well, that was really making the meal. That was really
once they go away for a bit, you realize how much they're adding.
Yes, exactly.
So here's a question for you. You use the phrase train wreck to describe basically 20s and 30s, Melissa.
Mm-hmm.
What will 40s be?
This is my on point decade. Well, for the rest of my life,
On point.
point. Yeah. Finally.
So another question, this is one of my favorite questions to ask, especially for someone like yourself where you've come a long way. What's next?
Um, well, I feel like there's just like always something, it seems like there's always something new to do with
Mm.
this. Always like a new goal to work towards for sure. Um, so one thing obviously is like we talked about that, like I'm going to study to become a personal trainer myself now because
Oh my goodness.
like how you're acting surprised, but it was your idea.
What? Well, it actually is still a surprise and still catches me by surprise just because you just think back to where you were 2 years ago.
Right. Yeah. I wasn't giving anyone any advice on any kind of shit. Like it was not going to be working out.
Now you're without question, you've got what it takes to lead other people with this, but it never fails to just hit me between the eyes like, fuck, we just use that phrase.
Yeah.
Like
I know.
she's going to be
Right.
a PT and a coach herself. It's like, that was not on the bingo card a few years ago.
Yeah. No. No. That's hysterical. No. But so yeah, it is. It's really, yeah, really, really interesting for sure. And I'm excited. I'm excited about it.
It's, I think personally, just for me, I think it's fucking monumental. Like
Yeah.
to go from what you've gone through over such a long period of time to be like, you know what? I'm going to show others how to do it themselves. Fucking wow.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, I would love to even change just one person's life the way you all have changed mine. Like just one person would make it worth it.
You are going to get your chance, I assure you, because there's no better qualification than doing it yourself.
Yeah, well, that's how you guys do it.
You know, you have to go through this now. Doing your own study is like, you've got to go through the textbooks, got to go through the academia, and not one single fucking person is going to ask you, well, what are your qualifications? It's just like, hey,
Right.
check the photos. Here's my story. Let's fucking go.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So, what would be your top tips for someone starting out where you started? Like, say, a busy mum, train wreck, mess of diets, and just a clusterfuck. What are your
Well,
tips now?
actually already hit on my number one tip, which is the focusing on the process and instead of the weight loss. We actually already
Mm,
hit on that. That's one of them, right? Because
yeah.
like I think that's definitely key for sure. Like, because just thinking like the whole idea of like I need to lose weight is just like a toxic idea for your brain. Like it just doesn't help you, right? Like whatsoever. So focusing on those habits, I think is just like that was like my number one that I was gonna say. So we kind of already covered that. But the next one I have is more about just being open to changing your beliefs and especially your beliefs about yourself,
Mm,
because I think that like what you tell yourself, like I've learned, like, what you tell yourself is like really important. So, I actually will now tell myself on purpose different things, even just like in my brain. Like instead of saying like, I can't have something. It's like, I don't want that. I don't want cake right now because it's not going to help me reach my goals. Right. Like, I think it sounds like a small, trivial thing, but it actually for me makes like a huge difference because, like, it's like putting in there that it is a choice. And then also with that kind of thing, just like, having your identity be like, okay, well, I'm a train wreck. I'm this, like I'm that, like changing your identity, like, well, now, I'm the type of person that works out. I'm the type of person that goes to bed early. I'm the type of person who, eats nutritious food, right?
mm.
Like you actually sort of have to become, like, think to yourself that that's the type of person that you are in order to become that person. That makes sense.
It does. I use the phrase, you need to start making decisions that the future version of you would make.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Mm,
Like, so what would the type, like, if I'm the type of person I want to be, what would they do? Like, kind of thing.
yeah. Yeah.
So I think that is, and then also too, letting go of aspects of who you thought you were. Like, I'm a big drinker and I can hold my alcohol. Well, no, I really wasn't holding it that well. I just thought that
Mm.
that I was, but just letting go of that and like just that part is gone, right? Like,
Identity shift might be one of the biggest things of all of this for
yeah.
anyone.
Mhm.
Changing your perceptions and your perspectives about yourself.
Mhm.
That's the real change beneath the surface.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. Like you have to kind of become a different person in a way, like, in certain ways at least. So
Mm.
that's a big one. And then another one is just learning to lean into discomfort because I can't think of a time where like there was like any time that I've been like afraid to do something or felt like, oh, like I don't know if I should do it, like it's scary. And I did it anyway. I've always like learned so much from that. So I think anytime, so I kind of like learned early on that like if you were telling me to do something or try something even like and I was like, I don't know, like and I would
Mm.
try it and I would be happy about it. So I learned like, okay, anytime you're kind of like running up against like one of those uncomfortable situations, the best thing you can do is just go right through it. And then once you're on the other side, then like it's so much better. So basically just yeah, just overcoming like the challenges and uncomfortable feelings is like super important. I don't think you can do it without doing that.
You definitely can't, because the things that you find uncomfortable will be the things that you avoid, and they're also the things you need.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's also a case of well, we can't, when you first started, we couldn't say to you, right, okay, tell everyone you're not going to be drinking from here on out. Tell your husband, get the booze out of the house. Make all these big identity shifts straight away. But you've got to start with just one or two experiences.
Yeah.
Give yourself some validation and confidence of like, oh, actually, you know what? The sky did not just fall on my head.
Right.
And
Exactly.
it kind of incentivizes you just to like, you do it once. Okay, I can try it again.
Mm-hmm.
And it
Yep.
gradually compounds over time, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even when you first like came to me and say like you thought that I could do like the fat loss program, I was
Mm.
like, I don't know. But actually then I even told myself like, well, I'll try it. And if I really don't like it, then I'll just stop.
Mhm.
I didn't say that. And so I tried it. And then now I'm like, now I'm doing my second one. So
Yeah, and just for context, because I guarantee you there will be clients of ours listening going, well, aren't we all doing a fat loss program? With what we do with clients, we always start them on the basics because like, just learn how to show up to begin with. But eventually you get to the stage where a person's habits are so good and their metabolism is so bulletproof that depending on their goal, we have what we call more advanced programs. And one of them is called an advanced fat loss program. But as you've gone through, Melissa, because you're about to finish off your second one now,
mhm.
the level of consistency required and planning required to pull that off is next level.
Yeah. I mean, it scared me. I was like, I don't know if I
Mm.
can do it, but I mean,
But
but
also what it does for you physically. Uh-huh.
oh yeah, absolutely. Like once I saw the results, I was like, oh fuck yeah, I gotta keep going, right? Because like I was then making like the type of progress I was seeing before, and like maybe like 6 months, I was seeing in like 3 months, right? It
Yeah.
just faster.
But the thing is, we had to get you ready from
Hmm.
a process standpoint, from an identity standpoint, from a metabolic standpoint, to
Yeah,
be able to do that. Like can you
I couldn't start
imagine?
off. No way,
I
no.
was just going to say, can you imagine if we tried to do that to you day one when you first started?
Freaked out and binged after a few days, probably.
You'd have binged, and that would have been entirely our fault for putting you in a position to fail.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
I generally look at it as an easy way to summarize it for someone listening is that an advanced program like what you're doing now is kind of like the final 10, 15, 20% of
Mm,
improvements that give you that sort of physique like you're now. And like you're a modest woman, but I'm just going to say it, like you're getting now the sports model physique.
thank you.
Like I know entirely how awkward that can make you feel, but it's like, look at the photos, dude. Like photos don't lie. Like, you're taking progress photos every single week, and we are seeing changes basically every single week.
I get up at 5. Well, now I'm getting up at 4:45 for those so that I can go do the ice afterwards.
Uh, the things that change, hey? What other tips do you have?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So moving on from mistakes as
Mm.
quick as you can. So I definitely make mistakes. I've had people tell, like other people who talk to me in the group, like think that I don't or something like, but I do definitely remember when I went to the tea and then I ate all those like croissants and then like I like got a bloated stomach like I was pregnant or something from eating like all that stuff at the Mother's Day tea. Like,
Remember, it was like 3 weeks ago.
yeah.
Eh,
Well, yeah. I
that's what I
know,
mean. Like
right?
mistakes get made all along the way.
So yeah, I do stupid shit like
Mm.
still. But the thing is, I came home, I ate the meal that I was planning to eat all along, and then I ate the one after that, right? And I just like kept going
Mm.
with my plan, and I didn't. And I was just like, I was like, well, that was fucking stupid. I did feel a little bit bad about it, but I was just like, but feeling bad doesn't do shit. I mean, it doesn't. Like so. I was like, all right, well, I just went on with my plan. I did my next meal and I did my next workout and it's fine.
You
Like,
didn't compound the issue, did you?
yeah, exactly. So,
Mm.
yeah, so it's not about being like perfect, but it's about being more like just relentlessly consistent, I would say is like the biggest thing. So even if you just make a mistake, it's just like a little blip and just keep going. Like
Yeah,
don't let it fuck you up.
I think it's fine to give yourself permission to be a human and to miss from time to time, but just don't miss twice.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And like so there, yeah. So that's another one because I do think that myself in the past is always like, oh, like I fucked this up, so now I might as well just fuck it, for the day or whatever it is. But like that's like the worst thing you can do. So
Mm.
I don't do that anymore, or I try not to. Um. Oh, and so then my next one is just that realizing that food is not going to fix your feelings and how you feel. So,
Mm.
how I did that is kind of through like some kind of like mindfulness techniques, I guess, which sounds very like woo woo, but really all it is just like when I would eat something, I would just be like, well, how does that make me feel? How do I feel now? It's really just like observing instead of just like, stuffing it down and just like doing like whatever, like, like just actually just taking a minute. It really doesn't take that long. Just think like, well, how does that food make me feel? Did it make me feel good? Like physically? Did it make me feel good mentally? Or do I just feel guilty? Like, do I actually feel better about the thing I was upset about now? No, I don't. And then I think I heard this somewhere and it would be better if like I actually knew the number, but if you just pay attention to how you feel after you eat a food like a certain number of times, it's actually like pretty small. You actually naturally stop eating that food if it makes you feel bad and you take note of that, right? But if you don't take note of it, I guess, you get into that thing where I shouldn't have that, or now I want it. Like, it's just really important to like stay away from that, right? That my whole mindset of just like, I had it. Now I feel guilty. Now, like, I'm going to make other bad decisions, like kind of thing. So, yeah, I think just noting how you feel after you eat is a good thing to do and can help you realize that you know, maybe the food isn't doing what you thought it was for you. If that makes sense.
Sounds like you're being more present,
Yes.
those
Yeah.
things.
Yes. Yes. So, yeah, that's another one. I think that's 5, but I actually just like had another one. It's like a bonus.
Let's go. Let's go.
It's just that always look for reasons why you can do stuff instead of reasons why you can't, because you will always find
Gold.
whatever you're looking for, right?
Mm.
So that's definitely a big one. I used to make, excuses all the time, like now's not a good time to start because whatever. Like it doesn't matter, right? Like, it's like now's not a good time. Really busy. Well, guess what? It's never gonna be a fucking good time. Yeah,
Yep.
right. Never will. So you just have to do it. That's it. Like, so that's why I say just look for reasons why you can make it work.
Yep. That is gold. I got another question for you.
Yeah.
This is a bit of validation here. So Courtney and I always talk a lot. We have now for fucking 7 years of waffling on with this shit. Is, you don't have to count calories to get the result you want. You don't have to weigh yourself obsessively. Can you please just share how many times in total we have asked you to count your calories and weigh yourself in 2 years?
So counting calories, 0.
Yep.
Because they would have run screaming from the room.
Mm-hmm.
And weighing myself, I think it was one time, and it was in relation to calculating my protein intake, and that was
Correct.
it.
That's it.
Yeah.
In 2 years.
Yeah. No, I don't do that.
No. And for you listening, there'll be a link in the description of the episode where you can go and check out at least the visual improvements this woman has made and understand that the amount of calories that we've counted along the way has been a grand total of fuck all.
Yeah. Not fucking doing that.
You don't need to. Especially now because you've learned how to listen to your body. You've learned your body cues. You've learned your hunger cues. You're in tune with your energy levels.
Yeah.
You know when you're on top of things. You know when you might need to pull it back or, take some time and go sit in a bath for half an hour or, go and get a massage or whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I had to learn all that shit.
Yes.
A long time.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's also where the time frame comes into this because we probably could have put you on some stupid fucking diet and had you lose the weight faster, but that's not going to set you up to keep it.
Right. Yeah. No, I tried that. That doesn't work.
No. The magic here is sustainability. And if you say to us, which you have, I can do this forever, like we've done our job properly.
Yeah. You guys killed it. Good job.
Let's meet in the middle on this one. We all killed it.
Y'all killed it.
We all say, and Courtney and I will scream this forever. This only works when you meet halfway.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how good we are. Doesn't matter how good you are. If they need to be combined into a genuine team effort, because we are only as good as you, and you're only as good as us, and vice versa. Like it's you got to meet in the middle.
Very true.
Anything else you'd want to add here? Any other observations or things that have popped up along the way? Anything else you'd like to share?
No, I feel like I've talked your fucking head off. I'm sure you're sick of hearing this shit now.
1, no, I'm not. 2, my head is still here. It's too big to talk off. Well, in that case, can I just say thank you?
Yeah, thank you for having me on. It was fun. Never thought I would be interviewed for anything ever. So
You are now going to be heard in literally 71 different countries.
crazy.
If I checked my most recent Spotify stats correctly. So you're going to be heard in some real small countries in Central Europe. Like you are going to be a big deal.
I didn't say anything stupid, did I?
This whole if you did, that just puts you in perfect company for this show because we've got 7 years of saying dumb shit. But also just from both myself and I'll speak for Courtney, like, well done. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And cannot wait to see what's next. Like we've given away the secret, like, oh, she's going to become a PT herself.
Yeah.
Cannot.
I wanted to mention though, I also want to work on getting a better butt.
Thank you. Okay. Well, the thing is, that can be done because like everything else is improved. That's next. It's just like, okay, we know what the process is. Let's just get you stronger in the gym. Like,
right, I know.
And you and I will have a chat.
Goal.
Well, that side goal can become a pretty primary goal soon because, you're about to wrap up your second advanced fat loss program. And I will then have a chat to you about another advanced program we've got called the Max Muscle program, which
Exciting.
is a few things are different to what you've been doing for the last 6 months.
Oh, can't wait to
But
hear.
let's just say the booty gains are going to be real.
Sweet. That's what I need.
It's you want it, you got it. Like we can't say no to a great client. So once again, congratulations and thank you for taking the time to share this.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
And we will speak soon.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Are you ready to share your success? Head over to our website for full access to our show notes, resources based on today's topic, and links to our Facebook group so you can share your story with our hosts and many others out there who are looking to achieve and maintain their health and fitness goals. You can find all that and more exclusively at theweightlosspodcast.com.